Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the call related to the revised draft tariff language agreement and Appendix A for the EIM sub-entity scheduling coordinator initiative. This is Christina Osborne from ISO Stakeholder Affairs. I'll be facilitating the meeting. John Anders from ISO Legal is going to lead the discussion today, and we also have Danny Johnson and James Lynn, who led the policy development effort. We did post the revised draft documents back on June 2nd and solicited stakeholder comments. We did receive one set of comments that you see on the screen from 6 cities, so the plan is to address their comments during this call. And there will be an opportunity if anybody else has any questions or comments, there will be an ample opportunity for you to ask questions. So you can either verbally ask the question or feel free to send it to me in the chat and I'll read it out loud to everybody. We are recording the meeting and we will make that recording available out on the initial web page soon after we receive it from AT&T. So probably by early next week, look for that recording. So at this time, I'll go ahead and turn it over to John Anders.
Yeah, thanks, Christina, and good morning, everyone. We really appreciate your input, and if this were the first round of comments, I'd be a little worried, but I'm not. We got some very thorough review and comments on the initial draft tariff language, which we've addressed in the revised tariff language. So, not getting many comments at this stage, I think is a good thing. We're always open to, fixing things, correcting things, updating things, and all of that. At any time, feel free to reach out through the process or, if necessary, directly, to me or whatever. The goal is just to get the tariff correct or right or as accurate as possible. So with respect to comments, we received the one comment from 6 cities, which is sort of more of a process or how the EIM works kind of question. And I think it's relatively straightforward to answer. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll go from there. So basically, it looks like, since now we've added the sub-entity to existing tariff language regarding, the submission of transmission and generation outages and all of that, and that the CAISO will consider it through the day ahead. It looks like the question is, the EIM is all about the real-time market. So what do outages and transmission, outages have to do with the day-ahead timeframes? And really, what's going on here is, if you look in some of the other sections of Section 29, specifically Section 29.34E, which has the EIM entities submitting what's called a resource plan in the day-ahead timeframe, so 10 a.m. and the day ahead, and that includes, base schedules and other information. And then what that's all about is then in Section 29.34J, the ISO actually runs sort of a feasibility of power flow on that. So what this does then is it gets all the outages and the EIM information and everything in the day-ahead time frame for that, power flow optimization, and then we provide the entity with sort of advisory results or whatever, if you want, about infeasibilities and stuff like that in that day-ahead time frame, so that they can correct things, adjust things to ensure that that going into the next day that things are a little bit more balanced, if you will. So that's really what's going on here. And so this language has been existing. We've been doing this for some time, and actually since the beginning, and that's more or less how it works. So with that, I'll open it up and see if there's any questions about that process or why this is the way it is.
Okay, so if you do have a question or comment, you can raise your hand by pressing #2, or you can also send it to me in the chat. Just make sure you include your organization.
And once again, pressing pound 2 if you wish to ask a verbal question, pressing pound 2 on your telephone. And I don't see any verbal questions coming in at this time. We just had one come in here. Would you like to ask a question?
Caller, go ahead.
All right. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Bonnie Blair. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi. So thank you for the explanation, John. That makes sense. I guess the implement through the day-ahead market process. I think with that cross-reference, that makes sense to me, and I don't know that it needs to be any more precise than that. I think. I mean, the only question I guess would be whether to include the cross-reference or somehow be a little more detailed. But I don't have strong feelings about it. What hit me again after. I mean, I probably looked at this 4 or 5 times before it struck me that I'm thinking, wait a minute, day-ahead process. Why would that be? But the explanation makes complete sense. So.
Yeah, and Bonnie, appreciate that because it is kind of run in parallel with that. But I would say that the specific sections I noted, sort of would be, control or govern what really is happening. So I think we should be good. Process is a little bit vague, but I think that those other sections define what's actually happening in that day-ahead time frame. So I think we're good.
Okay. And so that was, just make sure I get the right one, 29.34E? E
is the submission by the entity, and J is the running of the the power flow by the ISO.
The feasibility analysis.
And what we report. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So E and J. Okay. All right. Well, that takes care of my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Of course. Thank you, Bonnie.
All right.
Do we have anybody else in the queue?
Oh, go ahead.
Do we have anybody else in the queue?
At this time, I don't see any other questions, but once again, pressing pound 2 if you wish to ask a verbal question. Pressing pound 2 on your telephone. And I don't see any coming in at this time.
Okay, anything else, John? And I know, just one thing I want to mention is that we just changed the timing of when we're going to go to the EIM governing body and board of governors to September this year. So I just wanted to mention that in case you see it on the initial webpage.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. I don't have anything more other than say, we will hold this tariff, in its current state, if you will, and then make sure once we get in the approval process and then the filing process, if there's any little adjustments that need to be made, we don't anticipate that, but we hold it open until it's filed, really. So again, barring any adjustments through that approval process, we wouldn't anticipate any further substantive changes to the tariff. Of course, we're always looking to format and fix and whatever, clean up things, but we wouldn't expect it to really change from what you've seen already. So, like I said, welcome to submit any further comments if you see anything or something seems off or whatever, but otherwise I think we really appreciate it, and this is a really great outcome. We would have actually made the original timeline, but now we have more time. So, like I said, we'll just hold on to this and get it submitted after the approval process, and look forward to some filing, probably shortly after that governing body meeting in the September timeframe, or probably October-ish, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly, but that's where we are.
Yeah, we did receive a question in the chat from Dan Williams, CES, asking if the change in the timing going to the board and the governing body means that we're going to change the implementation date.
I would think we would need to move the implementation time frame because we were, planning to have this to be effective in September, October time frame. But I'll ask Danny or James if they have any more information on that. But we will be filing without any expedited approval from FERC. So we're going to have the filing date plus a minimum of 60 days after that.
Yeah, I would agree with John. We don't have anything. We don't have a specific revised implementation date, but obviously it will be pushed out past September since we wouldn't be planning to go to the EIM governing body until September.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else in the queue, Victor, before we conclude the call?
At this time, I don't see any other questions.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Greatly appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, Victor.
And that concludes our conference. Thank you for using Event Services. You may now disconnect.